Well, something else that works out is the Raw After Survivor Series. It's a great story. We covered that Survivor Series episode in the archives. Check it out right now at GrillingJR on YouTube.com. But the Monday Night Raw after, Goldberg is going to be taking on Evolution in the main event. Of course, in storyline, Eric Bischoff is totally in charge because Team Austin lost at the pay per view. And so it's going to be a 3-on-1 handicap match. And they're even going to say that Hunter gets a rematch against Goldberg the next week on Monday Night Raw. These are big time matches on free TV. I mean, I know that it's no longer the Monday Night Wars, but these are some big time matches that we're putting together. I could see why viewership and profit was there in this era.
We had what they wanted to see.
Yes.
It's like your business or anybody else's business. If you can provide your consumer with what they are looking for, you got a good chance of being successful. And, this was all about ratings, TV ratings, quarter hour ratings, live and die by them, hang your hat on them, all those other cliches. So, it was an interesting situation, numbers. But we had a roster that was laden with stars. We had depth, and that depth helped launch a lot of ships, luxury liners, shall we say.
Not only that, but the work by Eric Bischoff in this era is certainly glossed over. I feel like I think he was one of, if not the best, heel commissioner.
Yeah, he did a good job.
He's playing off of a great babyface in Stone Cold, but man, I don't know that there's a better television performer at being a heel talking head than Eric Bischoff in this era. He was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. He had the mindset for it. He had the intellect for it. He was I've always admired Eric because he came into a situation where he clearly was the enemy at some points in time. And, I did the best I could as a talent relations person, to make sure he was getting a fair shake. That there wasn't all the bullshit going on in the locker room area. Not that he couldn't handle himself. He can. But he's extraordinarily talented in that role. It was a role made for him. I mean, it was a perfect fit. It was good casting, good booking. So he did a great job.
Let's talk a little bit about Randy Orton. He's going to cash in a wish for the Intercontinental title against Rob Van Dam, and he's going to cut a promo talking about the great Intercontinental champions of the past, like Ricky Steamboat, Greg Valentine, Pat Patterson, and the Honky Tonk Man. And of course, Hunter's going to get a little hot that he didn't mention him. We know eventually they're going to break up. So this is a nice little bit that we see here. But one of my favorite things that happened on this show is Matt Hardy coming over to Raw for what feels like it's going to be a proposal to Lita. But instead, Molly Holly interrupts and she wants a mixed tag with Matt and Lita teaming up with Bischoff as her partner. The idea here is if Lita wins, she'll get a title shot. But if she loses, she's going to be fired. Well, in the match, Matt refuses to tag in. So, of course, Lita takes the pin and Hardy cuts a promo saying he chose the title and dumps her. And there's some great storytelling. I mean, this is an excellent way to say, hey, you were more interested in winning the title than me. So I'm going to dump you. To go from in the same episode, a proposal to I'm dumping you. This is how we create a heel character. I mean, I thought this was really well done, but it did feel like there was at times a glass ceiling for Matt Hardy in WWE. We know that Jeff would go on to be the champ and sell a ton of merch and be featured, be in a lot of main events and have a lot of big opportunities in WWE. But as a singles performer, it felt like Matt never really achieved that same success. And I wonder why that is from your perspective.
I think having the old push, making sure that his push had continuity.
Yes.
He was on, and he was off. He was on, and he was off. I think he proved in that program there with Lita that he was a good character, that he could talk. And that was the situation. Is always if there's any negative about the Hardys, it was the fact that the perception was that neither Jeff or Matt were great talkers. Because you got to remember who all was in the company that they were being compared to, talking wise, a lot of talent. And so, but I thought in that Lita thing that we showed a picture of, they were great. You know, and Jeff got over without doing a lot of promos. Shows you that you can get over if you can connect with your audience. And nobody can ever refute the fact that Jeff Hardy connected with his audience and did it big time. You know, I don't know how many. At least once a week or twice a week, somebody will send me a clip of where I said something along the lines of "climb the ladder, and make yourself famous."
Yeah.
When he worked with Taker, that line just kind of hung out there. It's not gone away, so it must have worked to some degree. So I think that's what it was. The perception was keyword perception that the verbal skills of the Hardys were not up to the speed that was desired by a lot of the decision makers. And in that Lita program, Matt certainly proved that he could talk. Jeff didn't have to talk. And if you don't have to, don't do it. If you're not going to be resonate, Jeff was just, his actions spoke a lot louder than his words. Matt proved to us all that he could carry the load in that regard.
It's interesting because it just feels like, as a fan watching at home, maybe Vince just isn't sold on him or doesn't believe in him. And, you know, he's got some interesting creative, but it just feels like there's a glass ceiling. And maybe that same sort of thing exists for a performer like Lance Storm. He's at ringside for a match between Val Venus and Rico. And the story, as crazy as this is that Lance is now well endowed and all the women love him. And there's a spot in the match where Jackie Gata backs up into him and feels, you know, this is a lot for the Lance Storm character that I really enjoyed in WCW and before that in ECW. He's this straight laced, no gimmicks needed, going to give you a great match. You know, if I can be serious for a moment.
Right.
And now, what if he had a big dong? Seems a little silly.
It was. You're right. I'm surprised that Lance even went for it. I think he was just afraid to disagree. Yeah. He was on steady ground, but golly, it was everybody was on pins and needles. You don't want to say no. How is it going to be perceived if I say no or I show any resistance or discomfort in this characterization? Lance Storm is one of my favorite all-time performers. If I owned a territory, Lance Storm would be one of the first guys I would want to hire because he can work as a babyface. He can work as a heel. He was durable. He was reliable and just a prince of a human being. So I'm surprised that he went for it as willingly as he seemingly did. But I can't believe at the end of the day that he was totally happy with that creative.